Father, good morning. We come to you asking to forgive us. Forgive us because our flesh and our hearts are weak, and that we are sometimes stubborn. So we ask that you forgive us all our trespasses. So we ask the Holy Spirit to be with us and to guide us into our Bible study so that we won't be misled. We are in Hosea chapter 4, and we are going to continue with verse 13. And the context is the idolatry of Israel. We've seen in the verse before that Israel was without the Levites as priests, and therefore there were all sort of other priests that replaced them, and that all sort of idolatry and sin were going on. So I'm going to read verse 13. They sacrifice upon the tops of the mountains and burn incense upon the hills, on the oaks and poplars and elms, because the shadow thereof is good. Therefore your daughters shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery. For themselves are separated with whores, and they sacrifice with harlots. Therefore the people that doth not understand shall fall. Though Israel play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Beth-haven, nor swear, the Lord liveth. For Israel slided back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. I'm going to stop here because we will never have the time to do all of that today. I'm coming back to verse 13. So last time we saw that they were idolating in verse 12. All sort of wooden statues and all sort of different gods. And in verse 13 now, it says, they sacrifice upon the tops of the mountains. We remember that before there was a temple, the sacrifices were being done up on top of the mountains, like you had to be closer somehow to God to do the sacrifice. But this would mean that there is a temple, yet they're doing sacrifice upon tops of mountains. This was not what it was supposed to be at that time.
In First Kings and Second Kings, it shows that. Let me read verses 9 to 11. The Israelites secretly did things against the Lord their God that were not right. From watchtower to fortified city, They built high places in all their cities. They set up for themselves sacred pillars and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every green tree. They burned incense on all the high places like the nations that the Lord had driven out before them. They did wicked things, provoking the Lord to anger. So when here is saying that they sacrifice up on the top of the mountain, that's where they had their temples. They were putting temples all over the place. They put temples on top of every hill and they put it under every tree. So anywhere, everywhere they had a temple. So anywhere they went, they had a place of worship.
So they do sacrifice to these various places that they have created for them false god, and they do sacrificing there, and they burn incense as well, which is supposed to go with the sacrifice. So somehow they are keeping the ritual that they should do for God. They are copying it and trying to do the same thing for their fake God. That is disrespectful. So burn incense upon the hill, on
That's
the
where the
oak,
temples were.
yeah, on the oaks and poplars and elms, because the shadow thereof is good.
Of course. Remember where the Israel was, basically desert, very hot. So their temples were under trees that gave good shade. Because an oak is a big tree that has a wide branch. So they had their temples on the hills and under these big trees that provided shade from the sun and from the
All right,
heat.
hold on. Guys going way off the mark. What you have to look at is why. Why were these the places they chose? Okay, as I guess where God had ordained Israel to worship and to offer sacrifice. The truth is, when they offered sacrifices on the hills and the mountains, it was an attempt of glorifying that God, lifting him up. It was a place where people could stay down in the valleys or on the plains and see the smoke of the sacrifices going up. It was a place where people could sit and look up to this monument on which they were offering their sacrifices. So they were, in fact, using this as a symbolic gesture of glorifying and lifting up and adoring. And because it was on a hill, they would bow down and worship. That's the whole point of it being on a hill. The other point is this was done by the people, the Canaanites, before the Israelites got there. So they were adopting the same practices as those people that God had expelled from the land and said the land vomited them out. So they had reduced themselves to pagans. That's what this is saying. They have become pagans.
Yeah.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that they were worshipping under trees, Asheroth was supposed to be the goddess of fertility, right? And of renewal. So the trees themselves were being used as conduits for her worship. That's why they had them on the trees. In fact, the Asherah poles were carved from trees and carved into trees. And so you would find that these people would be using nature to worship Asherah, the so-called Queen of Heaven.
All right.
Right?
Second things it says
Asherah was
Asherah.
also supposedly the wife of Baal.
Right.
Wow.
And later on, they said that Asherah was the wife of Jehovah. This is why she became known as the Queen of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at it, you have to look at it from the point of view of what they were actually doing and the why. It was in total contradiction to where God said that they should worship and sacrifice. They become pagans. This is what this is saying.
Isaiah 1 verse 29 says, regarding the trees, and it says, "For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which ye have desired, and ye shall be confounded for the gardens that ye have chosen. For ye shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that hath no water. And the strong shall be as tow, and the maker of it as a spark, and they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them." Well, there's gonna be a consequence for all of that.
Okay. So here's the question. What are they sacrificing?
Yeah, that's true.
Everything.
Give me everything.
Pagan worship had human sacrifices as well.
Exactly. The Baals oftentimes were worship with the sacrifice of children. So they were giving up their children to Baal worship.
Hmm.
That's horrible.
But Judah did the same thing.
Yep, Judah did the same thing, and that's how Judah got kicked too.
So where does it say that they were sacrificing children?
That's a typical Baal worship. It was understand. You see, when you look at what the Bible says, sacrifice and worship and so on, there are prescribed methods of worshiping these gods,
Yep.
one of which was ritual child sacrifice. Some of them were virgin sacrifice. It depends on the time of year and whether it was something they were going to be requesting and all of that. Then they would do whatever sacrifice was prescribed for that particular thing. Some of the times it was human sacrifice. The king of Judah did that later on. And it was remarkable because he sacrificed his own son.
All right. Let me give you the scripture, Sarah. Deuteronomy 12 verse 31. This is God forbidding them. You shall not you shall not worship the Lord your God in that way. And this, let me read 30 first, because I think 30 would give you a better. Take care that you are not ensnared to follow them, after them that have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their God, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abominable thing that the Lord hates, they have done for their gods. For they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods.
Wow.
So the sacrifice, God Himself said it. He forbade them from doing it, and they went and did it anyway. It's
Well,
not
so they
just their
did.
daughters they did their sons too.
This is very bloody. But this is human blood. This is not animal blood. But it says after, therefore your daughter shall commit whoredom, and your spouses shall commit adultery.
The Hebrew.
Mm-hmm. What does the Hebrew say?
On the tops of the mountains, they offer sacrifices, and on the hills, burn incense, under oaks and poplars and terebinths, because it is good, the shade upon thus harlotry commit your daughters, and your brides commit adultery. Upon thus,
So you mean under the trees?
yes,
Well,
as part of the worship. Because what is going on? Asheroth was supposed to be the goddess of fertility.
oh my goodness. So they would do them things there.
So they would go and do their sexual things there.
Yeah.
And that is why you had temple prostitutes. Okay? So not just women, but men as well. So
Okay.
the women would go and whore themselves there before they were married. And it says, and your brides. There's a reason why it says your brides. That is the wife of your son. During their marriage ceremony, they would do this there. Orgies.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So this is what was taking place. It was debauchery to the greatest extent.
Hmm.
It was just lustful pleasures. Because that is how Asheroth was worshipped.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be the goddess of fertility, and therefore all sexual activities were permissible. Yes.
Amos 7 verse 17 says, therefore, thus said the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. So this whoredom thing, adultery, was really going on everywhere in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
14, if you don't mind, now. Hebrew, I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. Okay? I will not punish them. Did God use to punish them?
Mm.
Or was it the law that used to punish them?
It was a law. The law was already there for them.
The law?
Right, okay. So, if you read the rest of it then, for they with harlots go apart, the men.
The men
Go
have to be
apart.
a part of it. Exactly.
No. That's not what that is saying.
Go again. Read it again.
Let me read the entire thing.
Yeah, you're reading the Hebrew, right?
Yeah. I will not punish when your daughters they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery, for they with harlots go apart.
Which the men, the men, are a part of it.
No, 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 no. That's not what that is meaning.
All right.
It means that they are spreading their legs for the men.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that means.
For they spread with whores, for they themselves.
Who?
Now I'm reading. I will not punish your daughters when they commit, for they themselves are separated with whore, and they sacrifice with harlot.
Hmm. Deuteronomy 23, verse 18 says, Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord for any vote, for even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God.
That has nothing to do with this.
No? Okay.
That has nothing to do with this. What this is saying is, I am not going to punish the women for their debauchery because the men are just as guilty. It is the men that they do it with.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And the men cannot then stone them.
Because they are the ones doing it.
Yes, the women are spreading their legs for the men. The word there, go apart, means to spread or separate oneself.
The men have sinned just as much as the women sin, the women.
So that would mean that a married man, if him go with a whore, this is
Yeah,
sin?
that is adultery. As long as you don't sleep with your wife, you have committed adultery.
I want you to understand what this is saying here. This is speaking about Israel and the behavior of the women
Mm-hmm.
in Israel at the time.
Hmm.
They will lay themselves with anybody.
Yep.
It's a part of the ritual.
All right? It's an orgy.
Yep.
And the men happily partake in these things with their own brides.
And they carry the bride to share in
Exactly.
it. But
With
that's what's
their
happening
own brides.
nowadays.
They are
They are
doing this.
swingers.
All right?
Yeah, exactly. They are
Um,
swingers. Cause people have threesomes, and I bring my wife. We share. That's the same thing here.
right? And therefore, the men are just as guilty, and therefore, they will not be able to enforce the
Mhm.
law. But you want to go back before this, all right? It says, I will find it. Simply,
Yeah, they are taking part of all these things because they sacrifice with the harlots. So you found anything else?
What the entire nation was full of fornication and adultery.
if you go to verse 4 of chapter 4, let no man strive, nor reprove another. For thy people are as they that strive with the priests. In other words, you're all guilty of the same thing.
Hmm.
Who therefore will enforce my laws? None of you can cast the first stone. Jesus spoke about this when he said, when they caught the woman and they brought her
Mm-hmm.
to Jesus, and Jesus said, let him who is without sin cast.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot reprove another, for you are
Yeah,
guilty of the same thing. So it was not unusual. So this is what is being talked about in 13 when they cannot enforce the law. And God says, I will not punish your daughters because they are not anything different from you. You are the ones. You see, when he says your daughters, he's talking to the men, you know. He's
Mm-hmm.
not talking to women.
He's a man.
It's speaking about the fathers. I am not going to punish your daughters because you are as guilty as
You,
they are.
yep,
You cannot condemn them.
yeah.
Therefore, the people that does not understand shall fall.
Okay.
For the lack of knowledge,
The
the
people
people perish.
perish.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because the Levites were not there to teach, and these new priests, so said man-made priests, were preaching all sort of uh
Well, preaching Baal. So
yeah.
they were
So
teaching Baal way,
they
and
had
that's what they were called for.
exactly, they had lost. That's the honest thing they know. They had lost all knowledge.
There was corporate whoredom.
Verse, you ready for verse 15?
I like how Peter put it.
Mm-hmm.
Peter, Second Peter 2. I'm going to read a couple verses out of it because I think Peter gave a nice, sweet little definition of what was happening, at least to me. I am going to look at Second Peter 2, and I'm going to read 13. I could read from 12, but I'm going to read 13, 14. Suffering wrong as the wages for their wrongdoing. They counted they are blots and blemishes, reveling in their deception, while they feast with you. They have eyes full of idolatry. They entice unsteady souls. They have hearts trained in greed, accursed children. 15 says, forsaking the right way, they have gone astray. They have followed the way of Baal, the son of Beor, who loved gain from wrongdoing, but was rebuked for his own transgression and split. So they have followed the way of Baalim, who loved wrongdoing. Their eyes were full of idolatry, insatiable for sin. So they could not get enough sin. They couldn't get enough of what they were
In
doing.
the Hebrew, the word used when it says the people that therefore the people that doth not understand shall fall. The Hebrew has a slightly different take on this.
What does it
What
say?
they say is the people who are incapable, not just lacking understanding, mentally bereft of the capacity to understand, will be trampled, not fall. The word that's used here, right, means which is yil labet or labat, means to be trampled underfoot. Okay? No. Here is the interesting thing about
So it's
this
not
word.
fall, it's trampled.
Yes, and it is important to look because in truth, that is exactly what happened. They were trampled underfoot.
Yeah.
By who?
Eventually, the Romans.
Ah,
Yeah, when the Romans and the Greeks came, they were definitely trampled under feet.
Every trample. Because when the
Rome.
Romans marched, the Romans had spikes on their sandals.
Shoes.
And when they were going to battle, they actually trampled on you.
Yeah, they killed you with their boots because they had swords on, they had knives on the shoes and spikes.
So it's so many ways. Just by looking at the word that's used, you get a sense that it's not just to be thrown out, it is to be trampled underfoot, destroyed, treated like garbage.